Hello, everyone. It's Granny. So pull on up a chair at my table and grab a beverage, and let's get into part 17 in our series on where is Sebastian Rogers. Um, for many of you who don't know Sebastian, he is a 15-year-old autistic male who went missing from his mother and stepfather's home in Hendersonville, Tennessee, in the late hours of February 25th, early hours of February 26th of this year. He's 15 years old. He'll be 16 in December of this year. He has dirty blonde hair and brown eyes. He is 5'5" tall, weighs 110 pounds, and wears square frame glasses. Kind of a little bit about Sebastian in case you would see him. He doesn't like to be barefoot. He doesn't like to be dirty. He doesn't like bugs. He has trouble making friends. He has trouble with social interactions, not recognizing if he's too close, you know. Um, he is vocal, but sometimes he just doesn't want to talk, but he will respond to his name. So if you see him say, Sebastian, stay put, you know. His favorite song is Eye of the Tiger. His favorite color is green. So these are all little tidbits of what makes up our little buddy, Sebastian Rogers. We are refusing to let this case go cold, even though we're almost 8 months into his disappearance. His father, Seth Rogers, is still hoping for his son to be found alive, and we're hoping for that as well. So today we are going to look at an interview where Chris and Katie are on a panel with Dutchess. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and that way we can get started. Live second interview with Chris and Katie. Here we go.
Kim, I don't know where that came from. It must have been in a Facebook group thing that I missed. Let me get that over to you. I think I've got it on here. Okay, I sent it to you. Victoria, you can email her.
Yeah, you can email me at Cocase Crystal, and I'm Cocase Crystal on Facebook at Gmail.
It's not coming on? Oh, here we go. Y'all give me just a second. Hello. Here we go.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm here. Every day's a struggle, but we make it.
I know. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to join me tonight so that we could just talk about your stepson, Sebastian, missing and everything that's transpired since our last conversation where you and Katie joined me to talk to me about Sebastian's disappearance. It seems like it's been a rough week.
It's been a rough 21 days and counting.
I know it has. And I just appreciate you taking the time to join us to maybe answer some questions. And I know there's some things that you wanted to clear the air about. And I appreciate you taking the time to just come over here and do that.
You're welcome.
Just trying to think where I want to start. I know there may be people that are watching or listening to this case. And everyone in the chat, if you would please, if you do have questions, the panel, Crystal, Arctic, and I have some questions and things that we are going to, we're just going to ask Chris. We've seen some people asking questions, we want to ask our own questions. We want to just make sure that things that were asked from the very beginning, to make sure that we've covered all of those things. And this may be answering the question that you have. And once we have went through some of those questions, we will take some questions from the chat. And I just ask that if your question has already been answered by Chris in the live stream, that we may skip over your question, because I don't want to have to make him continue to re-answer the same question, over and over. So we're going to start out with some questions from the panel, and then we will hop over to the chat, and we'll have Chris to see if he'll answer some questions from you guys. So we appreciate everyone for your patience, and we just ask that you show respect, and just kindness goes a long way, and we appreciate that. Let me get over here. I'd made myself a couple of notes, so I hope Sebastian's mom is okay. I know this has been very difficult for her.
Well, she's right here beside me, so she can hear every single thing.
Hey, Katie, I appreciate you being here and listening. You are in our thoughts and prayers, and I know this must be so very difficult for you. And I'm just praying for your strength.
Thank you.
And that Sebastian will be found soon. We had lots of people donate tonight. So many wonderful, amazing people in this chat. We're going to be able to keep the billboards up until after next Monday. So we've got a whole nother week that we're going to be able to run the billboards, which is amazing.
Well, thank you to everybody that has contributed and been a part of this from the start to current.
Y'all are very much appreciated in the chat. You have to know that it means so much to them, because these billboards, and listen, Chris, also, if there is another location that you and Katie would like to have a billboard, you can, let me know, and I'll be happy to get another billboard going. If there's a location that you are interested in, you can just reach out to me sometime this week, and I can look into it. If you think there's another location, that would be good, and we can get another one going up. Just let me know, and we'll make it happen.
Ma'am.
Okay. So, besides gaming, what are other things that Sebastian likes to do?
He likes to fish. He loves to play on playgrounds.
We get the little kid crafts from Lowe's and Home Depot, so he likes to build little things with me.
That's really cool. And you said that Sebastian didn't really have a lot of friends. He didn't really have any friends. He has a couple of friends at school. Do you think it's possible that, and which you told me before you didn't think so, but do you think there's any way possible that he could have met a friend online, either at school or at his father's or at your house? Do you think that's possible in any way?
There's always a possibility. That is a question that I can. There's always a possibility that a child can do something. Now, from my best recollection, mom's best recollection, and the father's best recollection,
Not that we know.
not that we know of. Our
Okay.
house, as we've stated, has been. It is strict. It stays locked down with that kind of situation.
We use internet time and gaming as like a positive reinforcement rather than a free access.
Okay.
TBI is Excuse me, not just TBI, but all law enforcement agencies involved are actually anything and everything which way they can. They are doing their best to investigate, look, search, any little thing. And right now, we got no luck.
Okay. Um, Katie, can you walk us through for anyone that's new to this case that may be just finding out about Sebastian being missing? Can you walk us through what happened on Sunday, like before Sebastian, went missing? Can you walk everybody through that and what led up to you finding out that Sebastian was missing?
Yeah. Sunday morning, I'll just start at the morning. Sunday morning, we got up and I made a fun breakfast for us, spaghetti pancakes. Google it, y'all. Um, we FaceTime family while we were eating so he could brag because that's something he likes to do. And we were laughing and joking on FaceTime and having a good time with that. After breakfast, we got a call to go pick up um, our niece and go take her to meet up. So we did that. We went and picked her up, and we met her mom at BJ's, and we were there with family members. We come home and put our groceries away, and then a little bit later we went to the bowling alley, a local bowling alley here, and we played games. And then and this is just Bubba and I, and we went to dinner, just the two of us, and then come home. Um, he took the trash out because that's his chore, and he come in and he was playing in his room until bedtime. And at bedtime, I told him, I said, "Hey, Bubba, it's time to go to bed." And he goes, "Okay, good night, Mama, I love you." And then he said good night to his puppies, and he went to bed.
Okay. And walk me through what happened. You said that you were on a phone call, you were on the couch, and then you went to bed at midnight. Walk me through exactly what transpired during that time before you went to bed at midnight for you.
So, well, my husband, he works out of town a lot. So, um, we normally sit and talk every evening, and I normally fall asleep on him. um, and he'll tell me, "Wake up, or, you got to go to bed." And and that was right around midnight. So I got up and I put the puppies up and I went to bed myself at midnight. And I went to sleep, obviously, and then at 6 a.m. I went to wake him up for school, and that's when I couldn't find him. And sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time. Take your time. Tell me, did Sebastian take any type of medication before he went?
Okay. So I was listening carefully here because there's no mention of her schooling yet, because she told us that she was doing her schoolwork at some point on some interview somewhere. I don't know. We'll come across it, I'm sure, because we're going through everything. So no mention of that yet, and no mention of the thud yet. Just a heads up there.
Went to bed, or that would make him sleepy, or if he did take medication, it was just in the morning, or did he take medication at night before he went to bed?
He did take medication nightly
Okay.
and daily.
Okay. Okay.
Just for HIPAA reasons, we will not disclose
I
what the
understand.
medication is.
I was just trying to think, if there was something that might have made him sleepy, like if he would have woken up, I just, all these different questions that people have
So,
asked me. So,
right.
but you don't have to disclose any particular, nobody needs to know that, specifically. I just wanted to ask. Do you feel any particular way? Do you have any thoughts about Sebastian's disappearance? Do you feel that he may have walked off? I've seen a lot of people in chat saying that he went out the window versus he went out the door. How did the door get locked? That you found the door locked. Can you walk me through exactly what that looks like and what you found? Was the door locked? What do you think may have occurred for him walking off versus
Well, I'll tell you
that he's
this.
with someone? Okay.
We didn't find any signs of the windows, but and without disclosing the details of my door locks, I will
I
say that
understand.
Sebastian regularly and consistently went out and locked the door behind himself.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me get over here because I have some other questions that are coming in.
Now, I will say this much: let them ask questions. I mean, we're not hiding anything. I've heard so much negativity that I refuse to answer questions. Let them fly. I mean, I'll
Okay.
be
Okay.
respectful on my responses. I would hope they would be respectful in their questions, but please let them fly. We're good with it.
Okay. I'm just going to, Crystal, Arctic, do you have a question that you want to ask before I take a few questions from the chat?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
We know that Sebastian was high functioning, had high functioning autism. What would you say was strengths and weaknesses that he had? Because no two kids are the same, is why I'm asking.
That is you are nowhere far from the truth on that, because that is so correct. Sebastian is extremely high functioning. His weakness, he does not have a sense of personal space. They've always been working with him about like a 3-foot rule, because he likes to be right up in your face. Hey, whoa.
He deals with some social and emotional dysregulation issues.
Mhm.
Simply put, his emotions or responses don't always appropriately match the situation. And socially he can be somewhat awkward interacting with others because he doesn't always match, like, I don't know how to say it right. Like, someone will want to talk about one conversation, but if that's not the subject he's fixated on, he will just railroad over that and go right back to what he's thinking. But at the same time, he's also, for the most part, a pretty happy kid, and he loves being a helper, and he likes animals, and he's really smart.
He
He
can play in a game of chess, and he's beat grown men in chess.
he actually likes reading occasionally, but only if it's what he wants to read. So like Minecraft books, he loves to read those. Um, Albeit his humor is a little different. He's funny. I prefer he's silly more than anything.
How was he with strangers?
Depends on the day, to be honest with you. He goes either he's never met a stranger all the way to, depending on his mood, he don't want nothing to do with anybody. So it's kind of difficult to answer that question because it varies depending on where he is in the moment.
Okay.
Normally, he's there's times he's not afraid to talk to people. There's times he is afraid to talk to people. Um, Adults, maybe not so much, but children, he has no problem approaching children and talking.
For the most part.
For the most part, like I said, it just depends on what mood and what day of the week you catch him.
Okay. Arctic, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
I just wanted to know if maybe thinking back on it, is there anything you can think of that seemed off or out of the ordinary prior to him going missing that during the night before you noticed he was missing?
I honestly didn't notice anything that was like, oh my God, that's weird, you know? I mean, we had a really good day. You know, he wasn't in trouble at all. We went to bed on a good note. And I don't know if maybe he just wasn't saying something.
Why do they keep saying he wasn't in trouble at all? That is my question. Why do they keep saying that?
But nothing, and I've gone over this so many times, I'm ill, but I didn't see or notice anything that was like red flag, you know?
Okay.
He didn't have any meltdowns or anything like that seemed off.
No, he was actually really well behaved that day. He was even keel for the most part all day.
Can I ask the question?
Sure.
Was that unusual for him to
No,
be well behaved all day?
not necessarily. And
Sebastian goes through phases.
he's got streaks where he's great, and then it's like he,
Goes through remission.
yeah, like he'll screw up and he'll get in trouble, and then he.
We're working on, going to the bathroom, and we're working on manners, and we're working on attitude, and then, and then we'll go through that phase, and then we'll go through, and he'll flip the switch again, and he's, doing really great. He just goes
I
through,
understand that
it's like
completely. Trust me.
progress, backpedal, but it,
Now, when I saw on social media, some people were talking about Seth had spoken on, I guess it was, maybe it was the Pascal show that he recently spoke on. And he was talking about how at the end of the school year, Sebastian was supposed to come and live with him. And can you tell us anything about that? Is there anything specific to know about that? I think a lot of people have been saying some very interesting things. According to some posts that I saw, apparently it's because Chris, you are that he's scared of you. That he's scared of you, and that you're bullying him at home. And I hate, I don't like to ask these questions, but I
I
feel
would
like that this
prefer.
needs to be
I would actually
addressed,
prefer
this
you ask these
because I
questions.
I just want you to talk to us about why people are saying this, and why people are also putting online that you have domestic violence charges. And I just wanted you to talk to us about that. If you, whatever you feel like you can tell us, so we can try to reel that in.
Oh no, I'm okay to address every bit of this.
Okay.
So You mentioned Sebastian's afraid of me. Well, that is a loaded question because somebody who has released some information out there from another show, who I won't put his name out there, uh, allowed somebody to say something. Now, mind you, when you have a teenage child or teenage children, all parents know this, your children are not going to like you because you're not there to be their best friend. You're there to be a parent. And as parents, you have rules they have to follow. If they don't, there's consequences. Um, Sebastian will say one day he's upset and mad at me for something, and 20 minutes later will run up to me, throw his arms around me, cry, and say, "I'm sorry and I love you." So, when you get in trouble, of course you don't like your parents. He said the exact, but that's when you set them down. Look, bud, parents are parents, and we're going to have to do what we have to do. And unfortunately, you're not going to like it, but down the road, when you get older and if you decide to have children, someday you're going to look back and say, man, they were right. So, I mean, people have their opinions, they have their thoughts and their assumptions, and that's fine. I have never once stopped a person from having them. That's why we are people, that's how we are. But knowing the facts are one thing, and then assumptions behind what you want to put out there is something totally different.
Right.
You addressed domestic violence. Okay. There are some folks out there who've decided to go online and go pull some public records, which perfectly okay with. Domestic violence, if I had domestic violence in my background, I wouldn't have certain credentials that I have because you're not legally allowed to. Um, Domestic violence, no. I've had a temporary protective order and I had a no contact order placed against me in New Mexico with my ex wife. Now, mind you, let me back up and I'll play the whole story for you. Me and my ex wife, we actually lived here in Tennessee for a little bit. We had a daughter, and at the time, my daughter was only maybe 6 weeks old. An event took place while I was holding my daughter. And when that took place, I filed for an immediate protection order against her. We went to court. The court made their decisions. I gave my daughter back to her mother. And when she received her, she jumped in a truck and flew right back to New Mexico. Got to New Mexico within 2 days of being there. She turned around and filed the exact same thing against me in New Mexico. So everything that people are reading, it's on a court document. But what you don't read is um, all the things that are happening in the court. You're not reading the transcript. So unfortunately, you don't know the full story. But
Right.
if people want, but
Right.
if people want to ask,
Okay. Here's my opinion on all this New Mexico stuff. I could care less. Really. I mean, that has nothing to do with finding Sebastian. Nothing. Um, at all. All of that. Now, what he did when Sebastian was in the home, totally different story. And we know that Seth has some DCS records that I guess are not favorable. I have not seen them. I don't know. So to me, anything that is directly related to Sebastian, that's relevant. But protective orders against him for, an ex-wife, you know, it let's just say this, if anything was brought up in a court of law, that wouldn't really be admissible, right? So I don't consider it relevant at all. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. If you do, go ahead and let me know. Just please be respectful. That's all.
I'm okay to tell you. Yes, I still have a current custody case going on in New Mexico that actually has absolutely zero bearing on this case with Sebastian. I do ask people to refrain from bringing that up because it has no bearing. And all you're going to do is put assumptions, and you're going to allow people to have their speculations and bring out more false information. And what people don't understand is every time somebody puts something out there, or they call into the law enforcement agency and says, the stepfather did it, you need to check the stepfather. Well, now you've just pulled a body away from the investigation because they are mandated to deal with that.
Right.
And I have told everybody from the very beginning, the TBI put a news link out, and in there it does state that all three parents have extremely been cooperative and constantly are continuously working with law enforcement. And there's absolutely nothing to show that we are responsible, foul play, any of that nature. People have asked about interrogations and polygraphs. All this stuff has been done. All of it has
Yeah, I
been
think
done.
that was one of the questions that I had up next was, have you both taken a polygraph test?
The results are passed.
Chris, can I ask something? Because I know that
Yes,
people
ma'am.
was going to ask it afterwards. Um, uh, the event that happened, was that toward you or by you?
It was toward me.
Okay.
So to give you I'll go ahead and paint that story very crystal clear. I was holding my daughter in my left arm. Okay, mind you, she was a little baby. She was up against my chest, cuddled up next to my cheek and my shoulder. My ex-wife accused me of having an affair with a coworker, um, who was not much into men. I'll let you go that direction wherever you want to go. Just wasn't into men. Um, and that coworker was my boss at the time. And she didn't like, and I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" And I showed it to her. She's very hot-headed. She didn't like the answer, swore up and down I was, and she connected and slapped me across the left-hand side of my face where I was holding my daughter. If you can do that while a man is holding a child, or a woman is holding a child for that matter, if you can slap that person while they're holding that child, that says something about you.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
And I'm not going to be in that situation. I wouldn't expect any person to be in a situation of that.
Again, I really just feel as though that has nothing to do with Sebastian being gone. I did watch his ex-wife Nina's video, um, and I'm not standing up for anybody here, guys. Except Sebastian, basically. I'm not saying Chris is a good guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying this information that he's giving in answer to a question, it's not relevant. It's not relevant to Sebastian missing. You know, if there's a pattern of his behavior, I mean, that could be relevant, but that would be relevant down the road, right? What's important now is finding Sebastian.
So I had to do what I had to do based on being a parent, which was best for my child.
Right.
I just knew that in the future that people would be online saying there was an incident and nobody asked what the incident was. You
And I'm
said the
sure
result
I'm sure they're
the
gonna
results are
spin it.
yeah. The results of the polygraph was that you passed. Is that both of you passed, or can you say?
Yes.
Okay. I think that was my question that was up next was so you've both taken a polygraph test. That was some of the questions I see a couple people asking that specifically. Did you take a polygraph test specifically? Chloe and Mo wanted to know specifically. Could you elaborate? Did you take one and also pass?
I've got a question, and a lot of people have been asking, Chris, is there any reason why you don't want Sebastian?
Okay, so what he just said there was actually a lie, and that's according to him. Because he said that they both took a polygraph and they both passed. And Crystal specifically asked him, "You both took one?" Yes. But, and this interview was on the 17th of March, but on let me look here, the 25th of March, he was on Nancy Grace, and he admitted that had not taken a polygraph at that time. So he actually lied right there. That was a lie. You know, what does that mean? I don't know. What's he trying to hide? I don't know. I don't know if it means anything, but I'm just saying he lied right there. And I, if you're a parent of a child that's missing, step parent or otherwise, be open and honest or don't answer. That's my opinion.
Around your daughter?
So I'm gonna make this real crystal clear for everybody. There's some things that can be spoke of, and there's some things that will not be spoke of. And personal issues inside my family are strictly that. They have no bearing on this investigation. The cops are well aware of everything
Mhm.
involving specifics. And that's quite honestly, I know this is going to sound snarky and rude, but it's really nobody's business as to that because it has no bearing on this case.
Understood. Okay.
And for the record, I will say this: all three parents have an agreement, and we all understand this. That can be
Got
said.
it. Got it. Okay. And someone wanted to ask, Angela said, I would like for Chris to clarify what he meant when he said he hasn't seen Sebastian since early February. Are you able to clarify? And if you're not, just state that.
So I cannot give certain details with this investigation, and that's kind of one of those things.
Okay.
I wished I could eventually down the road. I'm sure that will allow to come out.
Okay.
But as it stands right now, the answer that I've given is early February was the last time that I saw Sebastian. And no, I was not home when all of this took place. I actually got back to Nashville, and I believe it was later in the afternoon But I was on the phone with the police for the majority of that day until I physically got here.
A question that I've seen ask, so I figured I wrote it down to ask you. Why was the sheriff's office called and not 911?
So our house is not designated for city limits, which jurisdictions for police are inside city limits. The sheriff's department is what governs our area because we're outside of that. So if you call 911 and you're outside of those areas, it goes to a central point, but then they will turn around and ask your location and then they redirect you to another dispatcher. If you know who the dispatcher, who your law enforcement agency is that governs your area, I just call them straight. There's no point in wasting time going from one to another to get to what I need when I know exactly who to call.
And you guys were on a three-way call because you
Yes.
were not, you were coming from out of town. Is that correct?
We were on a three-way call.
Yeah, that law enforcement was called on a three-way call. Is
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to clarify that. Carrie Dean wants to ask you if Sebastian could have been sneaking out prior without y'all knowing.
I'd like to think no.
I would like to say no.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is not Sebastian. He's not a child that just goes outside at any point in time without telling somebody something.
If somehow that
Um,
happened, we have zero knowledge.
Yeah, if it had happened, we don't know about it. But our neighborhood is a very small subdivision. It's not huge. And everybody here looks out for everybody. We all watch to make sure everything's kosher in the neighborhood, and nobody has reported anything of that nature.
Okay. Crazy Linda asked, were there any weapons in either homes? And if so, were they all accounted for by law enforcement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And
Do you all have camera footage in your home? I've heard people saying that too.
That is some information that we cannot divulge at this time due to the ongoing investigation.
okay.
Thank you.
I wish we could, but unfortunately we can't.
Did Sebastian have a key to the house? And if he did he take that key with him?
That is another part of an investigation that's ongoing that we cannot answer.
Okay.
Can I ask the question I've seen? Whose idea was it for Sebastian to move in with his bio dad after school was out?
All three parents.
And another thing that I've seen, and I mean, I understand if y'all can't answer, but was there also a restraining order on the biological dad?
That was posted in a Facebook group
Yes.
that someone sent to me. I think, no, that was something else. Let me find it. Someone sent that to me.
It was actually underneath JLR's video. It wasn't in the Facebook group.
Okay, so here's what I will openly say about that.
Oh, there it is. That's what somebody posted in the comments.
So what I will say on that is this. People go through divorces and it is not the best of times. So I was not privy to that kind of information prior to my relationship with my wife. That if anything happened, that happened prior to my knowledge. So I cannot and give you an answer of that. But what I can say is if it is out there, it could be of public knowledge. It could be a public record, but I don't have any knowledge of it.
Okay. That's what I needed to ask on that one. Okay, going back over here to my questions. Guys, please, I appreciate your patience, and they are sending me the questions. So I see that you guys are still posting more questions, and I'm getting to them as fast as I can. So thank you guys for being patient. Um, I do have 4 or 5 more messages that just popped up that said, they want to know that you definitely took a polygraph and passed because it got cut off by a different question and they feel like you did not answer that. So I'm just asking one more time. This is the last time, guys. I'm going to revisit this question.
Okay. For the record.
Mo, he said he passed it, according to Amy.
Well, hold on. Somebody asked the question, was a polygraph taken and has it been passed? Yes. I didn't specify who or when. But what I can tell you, everything has been vetted completely. Polygraphs have come back as passed. So I'm confused as in why they're all wondering if myself, my wife, and the biological father took one. When law enforcement agency has come out and told everybody, even in the TBI news link, if you guys hadn't read that, please go out and read that. That's got a lot of great information in it, especially it's probably the most up-to-date information. But they will even tell you at this point in time, they have no reason to speculate foul play, anything on the parents. Everybody's been extremely cooperative of anything and everything they've asked us.
Okay. And Bobby, why did that happen? Because it's a public post. And these are questions that people are asking. And that is why it's up there. So before we go any further, we'll go back, and this is another, I have had many questions about this, about supposedly Sebastian's grandmother spoke out last night, and he said, Trev apparently quoted her from some comments on a YouTube chat. Is there anything that you want to say about this particular comment? Because I have been messaged multiple times about this. If you want to address it, you don't. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. I just wanted to ask you.
I will address it. I have, like I said, if somebody's refusing to address something that shows suspicion, I have no problems to address this. The grandmother, which is Seth, Robin is the name. She is Seth's biological father's mom. She made her statement on whatever YouTube channel. That's fine.
Thank you, Trev.
What I can say on that is real simple. Like I said earlier in this podcast, kids are going to say things. They're going to get upset because you're a parent and they don't like your answers. Sebastian has said, like I said before, the same thing about his biological father. But when you sit your kids down and you explain to them that being a parent, you have to do things that they don't like, unfortunately, it is what it is. We're not, as parents, everybody knows we're not to be our child's best friends. We're there to be parents. As a parent, your job in life is to make sure your offspring grow up to be better than we ever have been, or get things better than we ever could get. And that's your legacy. That's our job. And kids don't like it. They're not going to understand because they're still young. Their minds are being molded. But eventually they're going to grow up. And when they have their own kids, they're going to look back and go, man, our parents were right. Because everybody that's an adult that has kids right now, not one person can say, no, he's wrong. Because you've all done it. We still do it. And that's just part of it.
Right. And thank you, Trev, for being here. I thought this was a very important, when I saw this, it really kind of shocked me. And I felt like, while you're willing, to answer questions, I thought it was an important question to ask. Trev said, she said Chris verbally abused her, and that's very different than parenting. I just wanted to ask because people have a lot of questions, and so that was I just wanted to ask you, and it was, no shade to Trev time. He just was posting that that's what happened in the chat, and he did verify that it was her. So, I just wanted to bring it
Well,
straight to you. The best way to
well,
clarify it is to ask.
to clear up her statement about me being verbally abusive to her.
Hmm.
Um, Unfortunately, she's not going to tell you the full story, but there's always, remember, three sides to the truth: hers, mine, and the truth in itself. So you can figure it out. Me and the grandmother had a conversation, and this all stems back to an incident that a family member did. That, as the parents, we had consulted with law enforcement about something. They recommended not doing it. Lo and behold, something happened and something was done against what we decided. I reached out to the mom and asked for her help. During that conversation, some accusations got flung uh, in my direction and toward my wife, which the mother or the grandmother actually doesn't have the whole story. She has never once sat down with me, my wife, her son, and gotten the full truth on everything. She's only heard one side of the story. And I can promise you, I've got text messages and I'm not afraid to show them. I'm not afraid to screenshot them and let the public see it. Now, I will say, unfortunately, none of this has to do with the investigation of our son. But yes, we had a heated discussion. Yes, I sent her an apology for the heated discussion. And I've never received anything back from the grandmother, which I have always left that door open. In fact, the day when they got into town, I invited them to my house and welcomed them in. They stayed for a couple hours, then they left. I helped them guide them to the direction where they were putting their RV, and have always made it abundantly clear that regardless, people are going to have their disputes. Doors always open.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Clemenati, yes, asked this several times in chat, so I want to go ahead and address that. Where can locals be looking for Sebastian? Um, Clemenati is local to your area, and she would like to know where you would like for people to be looking for Sebastian so they can be looking there. Is there any areas that you and Katie want to have people that are out there searching, where you want them to be hanging flyers? What can you tell us about that?
Everywhere. I mean, everywhere. I mean, it, for me to give you a designated area would suspect that we think he's in an area. Well, we don't know. So anywhere and everywhere, people be very vigilant. Please be vigilant. You'd be surprised in how complacent we as society get when we're not focused on things. We're so driven on our day-to-day functions that we forget about things that are going on around us. We're
Right.
all guilty, myself included. You know, anywhere and everywhere you can look. If there's not a flyer and you can print one off and post it up where you don't see a flyer, please do. I'm speaking for all three parents and all the families. We would greatly appreciate that. We send prayers, our thoughts, and our love out to everyone. I promise you, if there was a way we could make it felt and we could show it, we would.
We appreciate that, and we're happy. We're happy to help in any way that we can to find Sebastian. Ginger Snaps has a question. Can any of Sebastian's school friends drive?
So okay, so I think there's a misconception about what he calls friends. He's not in normal classes. He's in like what they call it, why we try program. So any kids with IEPs and et cetera, things of that nature, are put into this class where they have 3 or 4 teachers or assistants in the room with a teacher at one given time. And while that goes on, there's not many kids in the class. So if Sebastian says they're a friend and they talk to him, he considers them a friend,
Okay.
but he doesn't have friends like most kids that would go and, hey, I'm going over to Johnny and Susie's house to hang out because of his social awkwardness. It's very difficult for him to make friends, and he's actually asked for Christmas. We asked, "What do you want for Christmas?" I just want friends.
Right.
I mean, we're at that level, but no, unfortunately, he does not associate with kids that can drive.
Okay.
Um, so I wished I wished he had a lot of friends, but I think after this, and when he comes home, this boy's gonna have more friends than he knows what to do.
Okay. And Doodlebug.
Okay, well, I think we're going to stop there for today. This is a really long interview. It's got like over an hour yet to go through, so or about an hour, something like that. So we're going to stop there for today. I am going to say that Chris has been very, very calm on this interview. I give him kudos for that. You know, um, the this cannot be an easy thing for the parents to go through. I, you know, um, and so I just want to say he's been very calm, very gracious. He's been answering even critical, negative questions with a grace that I've not seen or remember seeing. So we haven't learned much new. He did try to backtrack on the lie he told about the polygraphs, and he got very vague with it afterwards. So maybe because he realized he was caught in that lie, I don't know. But that question would come up again on the Nancy Grace interview anyway. So anyway, that's where we're going to end that for tonight. We will go ahead and finish up the rest of this on the next one. And we will see you guys then. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granny'scrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see